Welcome back to Shall You Proceed podcast. I have with me today someone I love and care about so very much, Mr. Chris Tubbs. He's a biochemist who works in the pharmaceutical industry and loves endurance triathlons, and he's a survivor. He doesn't like to talk about his survivor. He's a survivor. You have been through a lot in 2020, like many of us, but more than some, and you're very humble about it. And we're going to talk about it. So, Chris, how are you doing?
I feel great.
Good.
I feel very blessed and fortunate to be here, like you said, survivor, and to be as healthy as I am. I'm happy and I enjoy every day.
So let's remind people, because this is your second time on the show.
Yeah,
I would have had you sooner, and because when we first met, you were in the midst of training for the Ironman. You were, you were on the journey to Ironman.
I was just starting. I was just
starting, figuring out how stubborn you are, figuring out how you don't listen to your body, figuring out that I can't do this without, a lot of things we learn about ourselves when it comes to when you want to do something different. You're trying to do it differently. And you got your trainer, you listened, you persevered. And COVID happened, and you weren't able to do it on that in April.
That's right.
Houston. And because, of course, the world just stopped, right?
It's collapsed on itself.
And that was coming on a year. But you kept training and kept moving because you weren't going to stop. I'll just go to Florida. I'll just go to Timbuktu.
That's right.
Do it. I mean,
I was going to do it.
I'm going to do this.
I'm going to find a way.
Find a way. And, for you, I want to ask you first, you were training, you made a life choice to take on a very big task to train for Ironman. Okay. Yeah. I think you're like a smooth criminal. I love you to death. You're real low key. You're under the radar, and that's a very above the radar type of training that you're doing and what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
I saw a side of you from what you showed me before, and I saw a side of you outgoing, loving it, loving pushing yourself, loving what you were doing, a new community of friends, a new community of family, and then you're setting a goal and you're realizing, I'm bigger than most men who do this. I'm heavier than most men. I'm not in shape.
I have no background for this.
This is not, I'm not the mad scientist. I can't do the formula to figure this one out.
Yeah. But those are not excuses. Those are just the past. They're just the past.
Right.
As I say, that who I was is not necessarily who I can be.
Absolutely. So how was 2020 for you? Because you were training and it was going to be in April. Because in 2019, you got lean, you lost the weight, you were eating right, you were getting the right calories, do what you have to do. And then COVID hits and you're in limbo about, will I be able to do this Houston one in April? So let's go from there.
Yeah. So the big picture is it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I mean, it's a lot of horrible things happened, and pain and distress and anxiety for everybody, myself included. But also there were I chose to do what I could during that time. And in doing that, a lot of good things came. I blossomed. And it will. Like you mentioned that you saw a different side of me of outgoing and happy and enjoying it. And that was a consequence of pushing myself and finding like a light or a spark that fueled me to keep going. So in 2020, the first race I had, Ironman, so I'll just back up. Ironman, for any of your listeners that don't know, is a long distance triathlon where it's a swim, bike, run. In that order. So we swim for 2.4 miles, and we get out of the water and we get on a bike for 112 miles. And after we get off the bike, we then run a marathon to finish the race.
Oh Lord. Okay.
So it's for the pros that do it, they'll finish it in 8 to 9 hours. For the rest of us, it's 11 to the maximum time you have is 17 hours. 17:59, I think. I have to finish it before the 18th hour. So it's done at one time. It's grueling. But I figured it was really hard, and I was in a place where I needed something to kind of spark me to feel alive again. And that's what I chose, something hard. So 2020, I was supposed to go to do the race in April of 2020 in the Woodlands. And of course, it got canceled. And so what I did was I decided I still wanted to do an Ironman in 2020. So I looked around and I found one that I thought was doable, still a similar course, which was Florida. There were other ones sooner, but they were in places with hills or really breezy. And I didn't think I was ready for that. So I
Okay.
chose Florida because that was similar terrain as Houston, but it was an ocean swim. I didn't want to swim in like in the Woodlands, it's a reservoir kind of thing, a
Yeah.
retaining detention pond. I didn't like that. Ocean, I
Okay.
like much better. So
Okay.
I did that. So I just continued to train. I never lost the passion for it or the excitement, even though they kept killing races along the way. I just was finding joy in meeting my goals and exceeding my goals. And so when I got to Florida, my goal was just to enjoy it, to finish it and enjoy it. I wasn't trying to place a certain, podium run. I just had a certain time I wanted to do because my competitive side still had a time. But really the main goal was just to enjoy it, finish it, and feel good and just celebrate that I met my goal.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do
At the
you
blog.
feel you became obsessed with it? I saw borderline obsession. I'm just saying.
I think it is borderline because it became an outlet
Okay.
for me to vent frustration. I got joy out of it. I kind of liked the torture. So on the long things that hurt, getting through that, I liked that. So it would hurt in the midst of it, but when I finished, I felt so accomplished and so good. And like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. What else can I do? So there is a sense of obsession that if you can go too far, like you said, you since there's an obsession in there, you want to continue to push yourself and see how much more you can do.
You said you enjoyed the pain, you enjoyed the torture. You didn't say torture, but you enjoyed it.
Yeah. In some cases, torture.
Yeah, and that's called something. We're not going to get into it because I'm not a professional. It's called something. What was missing in your life that made you add this? Because you just said something.
Yeah.
And you clearly this added something because the person that now that I see on social media every day proclaiming that you love this shit and you're pushing yourself through everything, what was missing that drew you to this as an outlet?
Something, a difficult challenge. So I felt complacent for a while.
Okay.
And I wasn't happy that I need to feel like I'm growing. And I tend to try to do things big. I don't like easy or kind of hard. I kind of want to do something, push it where it seems almost impossible, right?
Okay.
So Ironman, I didn't start out with the goal of Ironman. My goal was to be healthy. That's how it started.
Okay.
And to get a coach and do triathlon. What I thought was hard was called an Olympic distance triathlon, which is the distance that they do in the Olympics. Because I couldn't even run 2 miles without stopping when I made the goal, I thought that would be damn near impossible. But very quickly, my ego took over.
Oh, that ego, that damn ego, man.
Damn ego. Yeah, and that self-confidence. But there was also a self-confidence in there and determination that said, well, shit, why stop there? Why not go for the big shit? Why not? If I don't get it, I don't get it. But look, what can I get along the way by trying, right? How can I grow?
You're extreme. That's extreme. From not being able to even run 2 miles and say, hey, let me do Ironman. Listen, I died doing the mud runner. What was it? the 3 miles of mud thing. I'm like, in Austin, I did that. Like, why are there so many hills? Why am I dying? I was like, so but what was missing though? What was in your life? And you don't have to tell me specifically what it is, but what do you feel? Because someone may look at you and say, you travel, you see the world, you have a wonderful, abundant life. What is everybody thinks, people outside looking in, of course, we all have something. So what was it for you that was truly missing that this has filled that void?
a renewed feeling of success. So I was coming at that time of my life. I had just come maybe a year, 6 months. I had changed track. So I had been doing my own thing. I failed miserably at being an entrepreneur. And I was having trouble in my life with many things emotionally and trying to grapple with that, and my sense of self and worthiness. And I needed something to focus. Looking back, I needed something to focus my mind and my body to bring it together so that I knew I could do things. And that confidence that was built in doing the physical and the mental endurance translated into other parts of my life. When things got hard or I saw them as hard, I didn't run from them. I knew that the way to tackle them was to approach them and face them head on. I had the confidence to do it. It's a weird thing, but it translated.
But it goes to say, where I was talking to a mutual friend of ours, how you have to find what works for you. Managing your own stress, anxiety, you have to do what's going to work for you. You can't do what everyone else does. You can try it. That's fine.
Sure. It might work for you.
It might work, but you have to, no one can tell you, just like in relationships. I don't believe in advice or goals, because you have to shape that relationship or your wellness that works best for you.
Agreed.
Whatever is going to bring health and peace.
Yeah.
And that works for you. That's what you have to do.
It turned out that the triathlon worked for me. I didn't know that it would. I was searching. I needed something difficult to focus and try to get myself in alignment and feel alive. And it worked. But yeah, it's difficult and it worked. But I think that's part of also why I love it so much when I'm doing it, because I can feel what it does. And I see the results and I feel the results of that growth and how alive it is. I feel alive sometimes when I'm doing it in a way that's different than when I go to work or, those kind of normal things. But when I do something hard like that, I have a different sense of feeling alive. It's addictive in that regard. That's where the obsession comes from.
I believe you, it's addictive. So let me ask you, so under 18 hours is what you should do.
You have to, or you get disqualified.
Oh, okay. So it's a have to.
That's the limit of the race.
That's the limit. So what time did you finish?
14 hours, 3
minutes.
I'm
proud of you. That's good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I felt good.
So you finished in 14 hours. I see you're planning another one in this year, more than one.
I have a couple. Yes.
You have a few.
2 full Ironman.
Yeah.
And then 3 half Ironman. Yes. But I will probably defer the ones at the beginning of the year because of the other thing that you mentioned, the survivor, the cancer, the surgery for prostate cancer and recovery.
We haven't even got there. I was going to into it. I was going to ask you because 2020 you finished Ironman.
Yeah.
In Florida. And then
November.
Oh, November.
Okay. It was in November.
It sure was. Listen, 2020 is a blur for me. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went quiet. Went quiet on social media because I'm following the page. I'm like, I'm running with you in spirit. I'm running with you in spirit. I'm following more of your training colleagues. I'm like, this is amazing, and I'm living through you, seeing you be so outgoing and I love seeing anyone find their purpose, even if it's just a hobby or what brings them joy, because it makes every other part of your life easier.
It does.
But you went quiet. Okay. And then all of a sudden, in true Chris form, you pop back up. Hey, out the hospital, doing great. And I'm like, what the shit?
What the hell?
I'm seeing a gown and IVs. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That was right when I was going into surgery.
I was
before I went into surgery.
I'm like, what the hell are you smiling for? What are you talking about? So I struggle with asking people what's wrong because I'm private and I feel, one, I'm not in that circle of your life to say I have a right to know. But I'm like, no, he might tell me.
So I'll tell you now, you are.
Oh, but it didn't matter. I was like, you know what? Yeah. Fuck that. I'm about to ask him what's wrong. And I was like, you don't have to tell me, but I hope you're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And so please tell me, okay, so November, you're in Florida, you
Yeah.
finished for 14 hours. That's a major accomplishment because you were waiting, and COVID may have shut that down in November. You just never know.
Yeah, I got
So,
lucky because no other Ironman races that year happened. That was the
exactly.
only one.
And you work in science, so you understand the risk, and
The
we
risk. Yeah.
understand everything. So
Yeah.
it happened. So let me ask you, you are now a prostate cancer survivor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a young one.
A young one.
Abnormally young.
Abnormally young.
Yes.
And you look good.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad you're still here. When
Me
did
too.
you get diagnosed?
I got the diagnosis in September.
Shut the hell up, Chris.
Yeah. September, like late September.
What made you, was just an annual check? You're just gonna get checked up?
I'll tell you, this is a message to my Black men, to my
Yes.
brothers.
Please,
Okay. So
please.
one, I mistakenly thought prostate cancer. I knew as an African American I had increased risk of prostate cancer.
Okay.
Right. Most men as they get older get it, but Black men have a much higher risk. I mistakenly thought it was a disease of older men. And when I say older, I mean mid, late 60s, 70s kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'll just tell you a story what happened. So at the beginning of 2020, I went to get my physical, and my blood test for prostate antigen, which is what they use to detect whether or not you have detect cancer presence, was elevated. So
Okay.
my family practitioner said, well, let's do it again. So the way she was elevated, there's a scale like every other blood test. If it's lower than this or higher than this, then it's it's good or it's not good.
Right.
And so it was just above the line. What I considered, should have been lower than 4. It was like 5,
Mm-hmm.
5.6. So she said, let's do it again. We did it again. It went below 4. And I was
Okay.
like, oh, well, I'm good. It was just, the assays, the lab thing. She says, well, I don't know. Go see a urologist just in case. When I went to the urologist, so this is the funny thing. So that was in February. COVID hit. I couldn't see a urologist because all the doctor's offices were closed. So I didn't see a urologist till October or September, in September. So I went to see him, and when he saw the test results, the first thing he said was, "Oh shit, what took you so long to get in here?"
Well, sir, COVID. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I was like, what's happening here?
Mm-hmm.
I got scared. Like, oh shit, what do you mean? Oh shit. And he said, this is way too high. I'm gonna have to do a exam and a biopsy. So he did the digital exam, the finger exam. He said it feels normal, but the tests are too high, and you're a Black man. So I scheduled the biopsy. That's scary. So a biopsy, don't let the fear scare you, brothers. The pain is temporary and it's not that bad, but it can save your life. So it's well worth it. Very temporary. The biopsy came back positive. It had a lot of cancer actually in my prostate. So it wasn't just a little bit. And he said he suggested surgery. There are many ways to treat prostate cancer with radiation, ultrasound, heat, surgery, or watch and wait. But in my case, because I'm so young, they said watch and wait is off the table because we know it's cancer there. Even though it may be slow growing, you're going to have to do something with it. You got years. So if you wait, you may miss your window and then it spreads if it hasn't already, or it could be worse. So radiation is just as effective as surgery, but it also damages the tissue surrounding the prostate. So prostate is sitting just underneath the bladder in the man. And so the bladder could be damaged, and then the other tissues around it, hip bones, that kind of thing. So they said, you don't want to do that being this young because you'll have to deal with those side effects when you get older. So surgery was really the best thing. So I went to talk to some surgeons. I went here at Methodist, and he referred me. But then I also found a book called The Guide to Surviving Prostate. It was basically the Bible for prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And the author was a guy named Walsh, Dr. Walsh. He created the technique that all the surgeons use now, that is a nerve-sparing technique. So I got on the phone and made an appointment with him in Baltimore. So I went to go see him.
Let's pause real quick. Listen, people. Okay. I want you to know and understand. Chris is a big deal. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't say it. But I'm telling you, he is a mad scientist, and he knows people who knows people, or he just knows the person directly. So for him to call the person and say, "Hey, I'm coming. I'm pulling up."
I mean, so, when can I get on? When can I get in the clinic?
No problem, Chris. Come on in.
Yeah.
Just like that. Exactly.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I went to see him, and I knew someone that had the procedure done by him and had recovered well. It was an older man, but he recovered very well.
Mhm.
So I went to see him. We talked, and COVID was bad in Baltimore,
Mhm.
but we talked and had a really nice time chatting. And he said, the two top surgeons in the world, I know there's one in Northwestern and there's one here. I trained them both. And I said, stop right there. That's why I'm here. If you're not doing, so he's like 80 years old, so he's not doing surgeries anymore. He just sees patients and he trains people. I said, that's why I'm here. Who are those people? And so I went to see the guy in Baltimore and we set it up. And I had to schedule the surgery right after the Ironman. So I went to see him just before Ironman to do everything. And then I did the race knowing I was coming back home for about 2 weeks. And then I went to Baltimore to get the surgery done. I stayed in Baltimore for about a week afterwards.
Okay, look, I'm going to stop you because you're
Yeah.
acting like you're abnormal. So listen, I need to know
Yeah.
how you felt when it was
Ah.
confirmed that,
Mm,
sir, you have cancer of the
yeah.
prostate, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of it, and
Yes.
you have to do something.
Um, I felt calm. It was weird because I guess this is part of my scientist analytical mind. It was, what's the point of being scared? It's here now. Deal with it. You have to deal with it. So it was a matter of fact thing to me. Fear didn't help me make a decision. It would only get in the way. Had a little bit of anxiety, but it was not very much. So I really just kind of went into problem solving mode. Like, all right, is it surgery? Is it not surgery? Where? How long is it going to take? What's recovery? What can I do afterwards? Those are the kind of things I wanted to find out and I needed to know.
Have you always been that way? Put aside that you're a scientist. Have you always
I
been that
think
way?
so. I think so. Yeah. And that's kind of why I'm a scientist, because underlying that that's my nature and the way my mind works.
That's you know, I'm pretty much the same, but I don't like math. So listen, uh, y'all don't
Okay,
want me that.
roger that.
Yes, you don't want me that life. I'm a liberal arts major. So
So let me back up. There was
yes,
fear, but it wasn't
yeah.
fear of the cancer. It was fear of the side effects. So black men,
Oh, that's
all men, but
yeah, we
the
know.
two major side effects to prostate surgery removal. So it's called a radical prostatectomy, and they are urinary incontinence, where you lose control of your bladder. You
Mhm,
may not get it back, or
mhm,
you only have to get a little bit, and you have to wear a diaper the rest of your life. And then erectile dysfunction. It used
mhm,
to be in I can't think of the word, where you can't get an erection at all, but erectile dysfunction, and that's a function of the nerves that control erections run along where they do the surgery, but and do the prostate, and so they get disturbed, and sometimes they don't come back for a year, and men just can't get an erection or they get a partial erection for a year. So I was most nervous about the erectile dysfunction, and that's all in here.
yeah.
That made me question in my feeling of manhood, and I wrote about it on the blog,
Yes, you did. I
one of my
read it.
blogs.
I
Yeah,
did.
because it affected me deeply. The
It
thought of that affected me deeply.
and I think so, you're married
Yeah,
and let's back up to we're talking about how you felt and because
yeah,
it's a personal journey, but
yeah,
it's personal to an extent because you are a father, you're a son, you're a husband,
yeah.
and everyone is still in your life very active, very Chris, I love you. Daddy,
Hmm.
I love you.
Hmm.
So, how do you deliver the news? Because yes, you're analytical. I'm already thinking about recovery. Bam, bam,
Hmm.
bam. We're not
Hmm.
all you.
Right,
It's
right,
a process.
right. And I
So
have to be
how
sensitive to that.
you have to be,
Yeah,
and it's hard when you think the way you think.
it is.
So how did your family take the news?
So I didn't hide it from my son. My son is 15. He was 14 at the time. And I did not hide it from him.
Mhm,
Even when I got the diagnosis and I told my wife, she and I talked about it, and then we shared it with him. But I put in very simple terms because he doesn't really understand what cancer is and those kind of things. But I explained about the body parts and when things go wrong sometimes and what I was going to have to do. And then when I went to get a biopsy, they took me to the clinic. So he was with me when I went to the clinic to get the biopsy.
mhm,
And when I came back out, so they had to stay in the car. It's COVID time. But
right.
I talked about what it was, what I felt like, why I did it, why it was important. So he understood, you know, I was nervous, but I still needed to do it. She was, I think she was nervous, but she was trying not to show it
Yeah.
to keep me from getting overly nervous. And she expressed, I expressed to her my concerns and I wouldn't say irrational, but I knew being healthy was the most important thing, but I wasn't going to deny that having function of my dick was also very important to me.
I mean,
So
I'm just
I
saying,
wasn't going to
like,
deny it. I'm not going to deny it, but I know that it's not like in this day and age, there are things that men can get if they lose that function. You can still get things done to work.
yeah.
So that really is not that much of an issue. It's more of an ego thing and a societal thing of where we men buy into the fact that our manhood's tied into our virility, right? How strong or how big or how potent we are,
But
as
that's
opposed
really
to human.
hard to tell someone not to feel, Chris. You know what I
It
mean?
is.
It's
No,
really
I'm not saying don't feel it. I'm saying I acknowledge it, but I also recognize where it comes from,
Mhm.
right? That is not necessarily healthy, really healthy, because it affected my sense of self when it's really
Yeah.
not. It doesn't have anything to do with who I am as a man. It really doesn't. But it got in my mind in that way. It takes time for me to separate the two. And so she made it clear that if I'm healthy, doesn't matter to her.
And
That's
that
a healthy husband
yeah.
and companion is what matters to her. And that made a big difference, for her
Because
to
no
tell me
matter
that.
how strong and how analytical you are, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're a husband, you're a father, and you want to
Hmm.
make sure everyone around you who's in your life is going to be okay.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
if you're doing it by yourself, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
But
Right.
for her as well to make sure you're okay and your son is okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a heavy weight, and people tend to forget. Well, they know now with what happens in 2020, when one
Yeah.
person is sick, it's not just that person who's ill; it's everyone that they're
Hmm.
close to. And when you're the person who's ill, it's really important to, when you have good mental wellness beforehand, how you handle those things
Hmm.
and how you communicate with those you love is really important, because we tend to, go into these big holes,
Hmm.
hide out, and act like we're the only one going through it.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
you're not. I'm here with
And
you. I'm going through
that's,
this with you. What the
that's right.
hell?
That's right.
What the
Yeah, that's right.
hell?
And so therein, what you just said is key, is the tie-in to this endurance training. Really, I think there's kind of like you can say God or the universe put me along that path to prepare me for that moment, because going through that training, I was very dependent on her. She supported me a lot. He supported me a lot. And I learned to open up as well.
Mhm.
And not going through it alone, like you said, I had to also allow them to be there and empathetic. That's not easy. But
Mhm.
I had begun that process through the training. So when I was in that moment for surgery, I didn't close up. I tried a couple of times and she caught it. She knew me well enough that she knew that's where my mind would go, and she would redirect me, or she'd call me out on it. I'd be like, you're right. You're right. You're right. Okay. I'll stop. But it's
Definitely.
true.
I think, it's so, I fully believe everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I feel you finding that outlet in Ironman training,
Hmm.
Lord, was preparing.
Just saying it to you, huh?
I just, it's not even my vocabulary. But it was preparing you for what happened in 2020, because you found
Yeah.
out in
Mhm.
early 2020 that there's an issue.
Yeah. Oh, go
Yes.
ahead and finish, and then you just triggered another thought
Go
that I
ahead.
meant to say. Um, when I went to see the surgeon in Baltimore, he reviewed my medical history from several years,
No.
and he
Mhm.
says, "You've had this for years. Why haven't you done something
No,
about it?"
Chris.
Yes,
You know you had it for years and didn't do
for
anything?
years. He said, "You've had it at least since your mid 40s."
Did you know this?
No. So, well, evidently I did. So the number, that blood test thing, if
Uh-huh.
it's under 4, I thought I was cool. He said, "No, that doesn't apply to black men. That's for a different population." I said, I didn't know that. And
How are
and
you a scientist and you don't know these things? See, I'm mad at you, Chris.
I didn't know. I just knew that the thing said 4 or less is very low risk of anything. So don't worry about it. He said for you, he said, anytime I see an African American man at your age that has anything above 0, I look. I start to look. And so mine was like 2.5, and then it doubled. And that's when I went. But for a couple of years, it was just low hovering. I thought it was just, that's a normal low. It's within the range of normal. So I didn't think much about it. I didn't know much about that. So that's to my brothers. Make sure you get your exam. Also, remember that your family, if you do it with your family practice person and not a urologist, they have to keep track of a lot of things. So they're just looking at a chart. Go to a urologist who knows what to look for something specific that way. I went to a family practice urologist, and then I had a woman. So she probably not even as in tune as a male would have been. So that was me putting a little too much faith in someone else and not being as responsible for my own health as I could have been.
Do you think it's also your way and our way of staying blind on purpose?
Mm-hmm.
We don't like going to the doctor. We don't want to hear anything wrong. I had to go to get my blood the other day, and she was like, they're calling me to come review it. I've avoided the phone call. I got the message.
Right. You don't want it. Don't want it.
I'll
Yeah.
come.
Yeah. I didn't. Right. It is in a way of, it's almost like a self-sabotage. If I ignore it, then I don't have to deal with it.
Well, your body,
and I don't feel bad. I feel fine.
You feel fine. Yeah, of course, because you forget that you're not in this life by yourself. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's
Something
right.
happens, it's not just you.
Also, is you'll feel fine until you don't.
Yeah.
The body is very adaptable, but then when it falls apart, it's bad.
Yeah, it's funny. We've been having these conversations now for the longest, and just about anxiety and how it looks in your body, and just not sleeping. Not just, well, I need to exercise. Well, yeah, but are you eating right? And what I mean is just eating enough, or not. Are you overeating? Are you stop eating at a certain time? Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping?
Right.
All of those things.
Maintenance stuff. Yeah, proper maintenance.
So do you feel if you didn't have Ironman and that unit, there's a whole different unit of people and everything, and the shape you got your body into, do you feel that you would be recovering so well?
No. So here's an example.
Okay.
Surgery, I had laparoscopic surgery. So that's when they stick a bunch of holes in your gut and fill you up with gas and do the surgery, pull the tissue out that way, rather than make a big old slice and pull it out. So that's a fast recovery, but it's still hard. So within 2 hours of coming out of anesthesia, I was still a little groggy. I told the nurse, I need to get up and walk. And I'm going to the bathroom. She says, no, you're okay. I said, no, I'm going to the bathroom. Are you going to help me? And she said, all right, I'll help you. Please. She was probably 5 feet, 130 pounds. She's like, please don't fall. She said, are you dizzy? I was like, I'm not dizzy. No, I'm just groggy. So I went to the bathroom, I walked, and then they took me to my room shortly after that. And I was uncomfortable because when this happens, when you have laparoscopic, your intestines tend to shut down for a couple of days. But your metabolism is still going on, so it's producing gas. And it's painful, and you can't pass it. One, because your stomach is cut and your muscles hurt, you can't squeeze and push. But also because you're not passing things. Your intestines haven't begun their motility again. So I knew I had to walk to get things moving. If I wasn't in shape, I probably would have sat there and just waited. But because I had the mindset of the training, like, I need to take care of this now. Today is my day. As soon as I got to the room, I started walking the halls, and I saw a sign. I told my wife, and she just shook her head. I saw a sign. Somebody had handwritten a sign that says 11 laps is 1 mile. I knew right then I had to do 5K. I said, I'm gonna do 5K today before the sun comes up. And so I just walked and walked, and the nurses were like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Because you're hard-headed and you don't listen, and you're making my job difficult. Sir, I'm 2'2". I can't pick you up.
Yeah, right. I'm carrying my IV bag. I had a catheter wrapped down my leg, an IV bag, and I'm just walking down. It's like, I'll put my headphones on and listen to some podcasts. I can learn something while I'm doing it. So I'm listening to some podcasts on something. At one of yours, I listened to yours at one point in the middle of the night. I remember that.
I'm so glad I was able to help out.
You did. Because, I can't sit and watch TV. I feel like my brain is melting. I can't do it. I got to do something.
It's okay if your brain melts every once in a while.
He said, so no. I got a text from the surgeon who was like, okay, I've heard about you on the floor. You're a superstar. You can go home tonight. You don't have to spend the night if you don't want to. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay.
How many days did you stay? Just
that night. I went home the next Morning.
You say, no, I'll stay. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
gonna
wanted
do
to stay.
I'm not gonna do that to him. I'm not gonna.
No, well, I didn't want to take the chance because if something were to go wrong, just because I
Thank
was
you.
walking
Yeah.
didn't mean that I was ready to leave. I was past, I wasn't taking painkillers. I mean, I took Tylenol, but I didn't take anything else. And I was like, let me just stick around and be here just in case. I don't want to be stupid.
Thank you for that. Because thank you for that small favor. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so
And I decided to stay in Baltimore for a couple of days too, just in case. He was like, you can fly home tomorrow if you want to. I said, no, I'll stay at the hotel for about 3 days because if something goes wrong and needs to be fixed, you guys did it, so I'm coming back to you. I don't want to be I don't want to be in Houston, somebody trying to
right.
figure out. Yeah. So yeah,
So this was in December. You had your
yeah.
surgery
The
in
beginning,
December,
first week in December, December
right?
7th,
So we're
5th.
about a month and a half out,
Yeah, we
and you're
are.
back to regular. So this is the funny thing. Let me tell you, my anxiety with you, and I was like, you know what? I can't eat. I can't. So I'm seeing you. You're chronicling everything, which I thank you for that on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, you suggested that in the beginning that
I
that I wasn't
I
doing it enough. Back in that April we had a thing. You said you're not doing
give me
enough. I
my
need to see
flowers,
more.
please.
Yes,
Yes,
you
yes.
did that. So thank you. I kept that in mind.
You're welcome because you are a motivation. And people, I'll tell someone today. I said, even if it's just one person that you reach, that was your purpose. You did what you had to
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm.
You are a Black man, young Black man who had prostate cancer. And like you said, we assume that's for older people. And the reality
Yeah.
is, let's be real. If it's not even just prostate. I have lost people that I know, friends,
Yeah.
heart failure in their early 30s,
Yeah.
things that used to be for old people.
Mm-hmm.
They have their bodies breaking down, and that it could be lifestyle. It could be a lot of different things.
Right.
We assume we have time. We assume take
Yes.
care of that later, or we
Yes.
assume it's too late, so I can't do anything about it.
I'll
And
be all right.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I look cute, so it doesn't
Right.
matter.
Right. Right.
But the reality is, your story needs to be heard because there's someone right now saying who's not going to get their exam because they're blaming it on, I don't want to do virtual. You can go to the office right now. You
Mm-hmm.
can
Okay.
get your check and get that
Mm-hmm.
done. Or I'm too young for that. No, we've
No.
learned for women breast cancer become very young. We've learned for
Yeah.
men to get breast cancer now. Look at the prostate
Yeah.
cancer. It's no longer an age thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like your
Yeah.
doctor said, that number doesn't pertain to you, Black man. Don't mean nothing.
That's
Anything
right.
over zero is not
That's
correct.
right. Yeah.
So,
I was ignorant. I was ignorant. So I'm telling other brothers now, you're not ignorant anymore. Once you hear this,
and
right?
you're a scientist, and
Yeah.
you know these things, but you're hard-headed. Anyway,
Yes.
you are pushing yourself though, like you were trying to run and your body said, no, you can't walk. And
Yes. Yes.
you said, I can't run. No, you can't. And you really pushed yourself, and you're still pushing yourself. Now you're fully
Mm-hmm.
running. Now
Yeah, I am.
you're running because you're
Yeah.
a psychopath. So so you're a month out.
Yeah.
So are you in remission? Do we call it that yet? What do
Good
we call
question.
it?
Excellent. So in my case, they think they got it all. So it's cancer free at
Mhm,
this point. I'll still have to do follow-ups every 3 months to see
mhm,
if any cells. So the way they do that is they take the prostate out and they send it to the pathology, and they look at it. But they also take seminal vesicles and some other lymph node to see if it has spread in a lymph node or the tissues that are very close, where it's most commonly when prostate cancer spreads, those are the most common routes. So they look at those, and they did imaging, MRI, to
mhm.
look at my bones around there to see if it had gotten into the bone, and there was no signs of any spreading, which was fantastic news.
Yeah,
That, after the surgery, you have to wait a couple of days for the pathology to come back. So you're kind of holding your breath. I was kind of holding my breath, like, okay,
absolutely.
they got the ball of cancer out, but did anything spread that I'm going to have to deal with? So I'm kind of holding, there's just ready to want to exhale. So when they called and said there was no sign, pathology was clear, it's just like, ah, it's just a release. And you feel, I felt so grateful because all of that is out of my control, right?
Yeah.
It's not that I did something wrong or stupid. It's just out of my control. So if it had spread, I just have to deal with it.
So
That's
let me
all
ask
I could
you, so
do.
you're going back in March for your 3-month,
Yeah.
and then you'll do 3 months forever, or will it start spreading out
They'll
further and
start spreading out. Yeah. It's 3 months for a year. I think it's 1 year, maybe
further?
2 years. And then they start spreading out further and further. And then if nothing shows up after 5 years, I think they go much less frequently, because it's a probability thing. The chance of metastasis has almost gone away if nothing shows up after 5 years.
So you knew about this well before summertime, that
Uh,
you had this going on, and you had
I knew
your
about it in the summertime. Because remember, I got the diagnosis in.
listen.
Okay.
You knew for months, okay?
Okay, got you.
You knew. Don't do that. I will correct you. We're recording. So no,
Yes,
you
yes.
had this. When did you go ahead and say, you know what, let me go ahead and plan 18,000 more Ironman races because that's what I want to do? What made you
Well, I had decided I wasn't going to stop. I was
okay?
going to recover from this and continue on, because the race is the races aren't really the goal for me. It's the lifestyle that has developed, just the way of living. The races are kind of like checkpoints for progress. What
Mm-hmm.
have I improved? What have I not improved? And it's fun. The races are fun, but that's not really why I do it. Is to do the races. I do it because I like how it has made me feel, what it
Okay.
does to me physically and mentally, and even emotionally has just been wonderful. Even my wife's happier with me doing it. My son gets to
Bless
see
her.
it.
That's all that bless. Forget you. Bless
The
her.
thing that's harder for her is I eat for like 4 people.
Because
So
metabolism is off the
I
charts.
just need so many calories all
Yeah.
the time. I'm eat like 5, 6 times a day,
Yeah. Like you consume how many calories? 3,000 calories a day or more?
about 4,000.
Jesus. God.
Between 3,000, 4,000, depending on what my workout is going to be. And
You
then
look
on a rest day, I'll do about 2,800 calories, 2,500, 2,800 calories on a
but
rest day.
clearly she has to keep groceries in the house. Luckily, when
Yeah,
you go to town, she ain't got to worry about it.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
But that bill for the meal is
Oh,
crazy.
grocery bill has more than doubled. But I'm also trying to eat healthier, so that's more expensive.
Healthy is good too, though. Healthy is
Hmm?
nice. Healthy is
Yeah,
good. Healthy is
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah,
So I will say this: the person that was on the show beforehand was nervous, unsure.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think you was kind of like double dutching, hopscotching on, will I still do this? Will I not do this?
I was scared.
But
I had decided to
here's the
do it,
real
but I
thing.
wasn't convinced that I could. There's a
Yeah.
difference. I was said I would do it, but I
Mhm.
didn't believe that I could do it. There's a difference.
I think it just takes believing in yourself. I watched this movie, you probably seen it before, called I think Josie Runs a Marathon. Oh god, it's a comedian lady. And it's based on a true story that she just started running because of she was, overweight, wasn't
Hmm.
holding down a job, and she had a great talent to be an editor, I want to say, whatever it may have been. And she started running a marathon. She tried to train for a marathon and met amazing people, got her
Yep.
life on track, and made her focus. And so it shifted her confidence. It shifted how she thought about herself. She didn't care about certain things. She had that. It made her focus, and then it made everything else in her life focus. And
Yeah.
I,
A
I'm
lot
gonna
of bullshit melts away. You
I'll never
recognize a lot of bullshit.
to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you're a totally different person. I've always felt you're a very confident man and just sure of yourself and a leader and someone to look up to, but it exudes differently right now.
Oh, thank
Because
you.
if I didn't say, hey, he is a prostate cancer survivor, no one would
You
know.
wouldn't know. No.
Never know. You went through that like, hey, I'm going to surgery. Hey, I'm out. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about?
But I considered telling people, but I was like, why am I going to put that on someone else?
Mm,
To me, it's like, what are you supposed to do if I tell you that?
yeah.
Why would I put that on you?
Yeah.
In a sense, it's selfish, but I didn't understand what would be the purpose of doing that.
It is selfish because I have that selfishness about myself as well, where I'll go through things and do things and not say anything. But then you have to remember that you don't have to tell the world, at least tell the ones that love and care about you, because if something does happen, and they didn't know. It's like you're blindsided.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone else is like, you ain't know? Well, hell, he didn't tell me.
Yeah, that's true. It was
And
difficult.
it's also the fear of I don't like being, and this is just me personally, I don't like, even though I'm a catering, nurturing person, I don't like all of that. I don't like all of that on me. Like, just leave me alone. Like, just let me know that you're there, but I don't do that.
I don't know what to do with that when you do that. I don't know what to do with that.
I don't know what to do with that.
Right. I don't
My
want it.
bedside manner is I'm tough love. Like, come on, what you doing? Need to eat. Come on. Right. I'm loving you in a tough way.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that. I don't like people worrying about me. So I think it's also that. And I'm private. I'm like, get out my business because you're going to ask so many questions I don't want to answer.
That's right. Yeah, you're private. You don't like to answer questions. Yeah.
I don't like answering. I don't like answering questions. It's just I don't like being totally exposed like that.
That's another way of saying I don't like answering questions.
Don't lean forward. I'm going to answer.
I was listening. I just want to see how you're going to answer. I'll find another way of saying I don't like answering questions.
I'm great at asking them, right? Like, I'll ask questions.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah.
I tell people you can ask me anything and they don't. So I don't, that's their fault.
They're not going to volunteer it. Yeah, I get it. I'm the same way.
They don't ask. That's always like when you did the show twice now, I'm thinking, I feel special.
You're special.
Thank you so much for
I love that you're doing this and you're continuing and it's growing and you got a bigger audience. I'm just happy to see it.
Thank you.
I am so happy to see it.
Do you want to ask me anything, Chris, before we get off of here? What do you want to ask me? I'll answer anything you ask me.
What oh
Lord, he got a question.
What is this? Huh?
I said, oh Lord, he got a
question. No, I want to know what this means to you. Why do you keep doing this?
Oh, that's a really good question. Really hard to put into words. I keep doing this because it is a form of therapy for me. I've realized that. I realized that we need, as a people, meaningful content, not just the jokes and the laughs and the buffoonery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah. Listen, we're gonna make a joke. We're gonna have a good time. But I feel that, like with you and you're going through what you're going through in recovery, it has to come from someone who looks like you.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's important. It's really important in that if you go to anyone else who doesn't look like you, how many of us are going to hear that message?
Yeah.
And that's my biggest thing. If it comes to anything, no topic everything's been discussed at some point in time. Nothing has been off limits now, right, in life. But who it's coming from is different. When it comes to relationships or sexuality or health,
that we can talk about it with each other. That's missing.
Exactly.
I had a conversation with a couple of my close friends, Black men, about my cancer beforehand and even afterwards. And one of them even remarked, he's like, I need you to know about this. And I need to have these conversations when we're talking about not just the surgery, but the side effects, my anxiety, what I got to do to deal with it. When I came out of surgery and I had a catheter, when I take the catheter out, wearing a diaper, what does that feel like? How does that affect me? Erectile dysfunction. What do you do? When do you expect to come back? All of those things, they're uncomfortable. But I didn't have these conversations with my elders.
No.
And we're not having them with our peers. So where do we get it?
We'll joke, and it's a transition now when it comes to wellness, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about, self-care and doing these things, but medically, we're not having these conversations. And for me, I want, as private as I am, I had to remove the fear of when it presented to me to have a platform, I had to say, do you take it or do you run from it?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and do this. And the way I transitioned into doing it, I said, okay, I like this. What can I do? I know amazing people. I'm still not pushy enough. I'm still not, I can probably do so much more that I'm not doing. because I'm not one to, I don't want to gain anything based on just putting out anything all the time or saturating things all the time. I want to put out meaningful conversation and content. Some things are fun, some things are not for everyone, but I want to have those, I want to have shows or just have those, have the platform where I would listen to what I have, not me, but what people who I have on. I would listen to you. I would listen to other friends who are survivors or their journey, whatever it is. And I want to showcase people who are doing amazing things. You know, with Ironman, how many people you know who look like you and not doing Ironman? Listen,
It's
we don't
so
want to
few of
run
us.
down the street. We don't want to run around the block.
Right. Why would you want to run that far? Why would you
But
want to do
and the
that?
funny thing is, there's so many of us who really are doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are working out. We are taking
Mhm.
care of our health,
Yeah.
but are we doing it fully? And with you, you did it with mind, body, and soul, and in your
Yeah.
spirit. You
Yeah.
embodied it. You saw something missing, and you took another compulsion, another part of you, because it's obsessive.
Yes.
And you focused it onto this, and
Mhm.
and it shows also with this journey for you, your recovery. So it also showcase if you have good physical health
Oh,
and you have to
how
go
much
through
difference it can
something,
make. Yeah.
your
Yeah.
recovery can tell
Recovery's
you
been
all,
very fast.
yeah, look at you.
Very fast.
Look at
And
you.
I
I mean,
made some mistakes, I pushed a little hard, but
yes, you
in
did.
my mind, that's what limits are for, is to be tested, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't know how far I could go until I got there. And then I pull back and I give it more time, then I try again. So that's just how my mind works.
Yeah.
The boundaries are there to be pushed and tested.
And I love that and that's why I do what I do. I hope
Good,
I answered
good.
your question.
Yes, and I think you should. And
Oh,
I was really excited about this because I noticed that when, we all know this, when somebody gets afflicted with something or has something traumatic happen to them and they come on the other side of it, they go to the top of the mountain and yell, "Hey, do this, don't do that, be aware of this," because
yeah.
it's very meaningful to them. I didn't want to do that, but I still wanted to have a way to tell people, at least particularly middle-aged Black men, be
Mhm.
aware of this, get this checked out. And if you want to, I would love to talk about it. What really happened to me as a person? What did I deal with? Not just I had cancer, I had surgery, I recovered, but what the fuck went on with my body
So when's the book
and my
coming
mind?
out?
Ah,
I've asked to
you
see. I
have.
asked
So
before it was premature. That's premature when I asked the first time. So when's the book coming out?
I don't know. I'm open to it now. I'm open to some type of book. I think I have a good story and lots of
Oh, you
things
have an amazing
that
story.
happen in multiple ways, and I've had an amazing life.
I will say this though,
Yeah.
Krista. Okay. You have to be, I'm telling you, you have
Uh,
to be transparent.
Fully transparent.
Be fully transparent. You need to, if you're going to tell your story, you have to tell you, look at, hey, fix your face, fix your face, fix it. You gotta be
I
fully
hear you. I
transparent.
hear you. That
You
sends
have
a
to,
shiver down my spine. But go ahead. You're
I
right. You're
listen,
right.
I
That's how you
understand.
do it. That's
Someone
how
told
it
me,
has to be.
"Arlene, when are you writing a book?" I said, I don't write like that. I don't want to tell my story because the skeletons and the closets, listen,
Yeah.
people love me for a reason. I am a lockbox. You know what I mean?
That's right. So,
I,
like
I,
a one-way street.
you know, you tell me it stays here. Like, you
Yeah.
know something? What you talking about? It stays here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even know you. Who are you talking
Yeah.
about? I will walk
Yeah.
past you as if you are a pole, you know. So
Yeah.
when you have to, that's why it's hard for me to talk about myself because there's so much that I could say, but I don't want to because one, I'm protective of my own peace. And
Hmm.
the whole other questions that are going to come at me that's going to be not framed the right way.
Yeah. 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 I understand
Intrusive.
it.
I don't
Yeah.
like judgment because we all have
Hmm.
done some dirt and it's
Yep.
messy and it's ugly.
Yep.
And so, but for you, because it ain't about me right now, it's about
Yeah.
you.
That's right. That's right.
You gotta
I
tell
have to
the
be.
whole, because there's so much about you, people have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's only for you to share
That's
because
right.
part of your journey.
That's right.
And it could be why you are so quiet into yourself and go by other names on social media. I love it. I'm like, really? Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
find you. Listen, I will
yeah,
find you.
yeah.
Okay.
All
I
you
will,
gotta do is
and
ask.
I'll keep you hidden. I'll keep you hidden, but I'm going to find you as well. But you got to tell your story. I think you have an amazing story. I think your whole entire life journey would be an interesting read for anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
Great little memoir. I'm telling
Very
you.
fortunate. Yeah, so I'm open to it. I've had probably 5 or 6 people now since I've had surgery. I had a couple people tell me beforehand, and I kind of was like, yeah, man, no, I'm not doing that. But part of the journey of opening up and growing is hearing things you don't necessarily want to hear and
Mhm.
just being receptive, saying, well, maybe why not? If I'm so opposed to it, why the fuck am I opposed to it? What am I afraid of? Because it's fear.
It is.
It's fear. And I don't want to be afraid. I don't want fear to make my decisions. I don't want to do that. So I have to ask, well, why not? And begin to figure out what it is that makes me opposed to it, or it may be a really good idea, something I'd like to do.
I think it's an amazing thing for you to do. You're going to do it. I think it's going to come out in 2022. Um, it'll be
Wow.
one of many books that you'll have out,
Wow.
and you'll have to speak about it and go on tours about your
I
book.
could do that. I could do that.
Yeah,
I love speaking. I'm good at speaking, public speaking.
and you're good at traveling. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
good at you're
Yeah.
good at it. You can't be nervous. Believe me, I won't allow it. It won't
Yeah.
happen. Chris, I want to say thank you so
Yes.
very much for sharing this small little part of yourself, because it is a small part. Believe me, people,
Yeah.
it's not everything with Chris. If you only know, it's a small part. He's an amazing, amazing man. Journey to 140.com is where we can find your blog. It's an
Hmm.
amazing blog. I need to start liking. I need to click on them because I've read a lot
Oh
of.
yeah. You
I
can
need.
do that.
I forget to click. I'm sorry.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and you're on IG. We can follow you on Instagram. Journey to Ironman Texas on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You chronicle everything every day. Your journey, your workouts.
Yeah.
Your hashtag I love this shit. You're on
I love this
Facebook.
shit. That's right.
I love this shit. And you have races coming up this year.
Hmm.
Please keep us posted on your continued recovery at your
Yeah.
month mark. Let's know what's happening, is going on. And
Mhm.
when you go through this first year and get your book started in the next few months, chronicling what's happened.
You- oh, I love you, man. I love you. It's like it's already a done deal.
It's
As soon
I'm
as I
going
said I'm open, it's the done deal in your head.
I said it beforehand. I was like,
You did. You said a year ago.
this I did. I
But you also
did.
asked me, what am I going to do with this? And I told, I don't know. I still think about this. I don't know.
You do.
Okay. It hasn't become clear in my conscious yet. Maybe subconsciously I know, but it hasn't bubbled up in my conscious.
You know fully well what you're going to do with it. It's the doing it part,
Mm.
because you I'm not a professional, but
Yeah.
you're you're um you're obsessive. You are manic on things. And Ironman, this triathlon is your focus.
Yeah.
This is your therapy.
Yep.
And doing something else, you don't want to take away from that.
Yeah.
Even writing your blog is a chore for you, because
Hmm.
it's taking away from the other part of things that you enjoy doing.
Yes.
So you're going to have to not allocate time to, because now you have a responsibility to share your story with
Yes.
people who look like you and their
Yes,
fans,
I do. I do.
so they can all catch things before it happens.
Hmm.
So you can allocate the time, 20 minutes a day, while you're not doing anything for a second. If you listen to 5 podcasts, listen to 4, and take the other 60 minutes and just take a tape recorder and
That's
record
it. You just make it happen.
and make
That's
it
right.
happen.
Choices.
It's choices.
It's choices. That's
It's just
all.
that you're so private. Listen, I understand. I
And
overstand.
you're speaking to yourself
I think it's
through
a
to
no.
me.
Doing this is hard for me. Being
Yeah.
seen is hard for me. Listen, my
Yeah.
voice, knowing someone knows my name beyond work and beyond my
Yeah.
brothers and sisters, they know who Earlene is beyond. That's why I didn't go by Earlene, went by Elise. I still have people calling me Earlene. So I'm like, shit, I can't hide. So
I'm
when
with you.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah. Okay.
I care
Yeah.
about you. I thank you. Your blog is on journeyto140.com. I'll make sure all that's in the description. We can follow you on Instagram and Facebook. Journey to Ironman Texas. Chris Tubbs, I thank you so much.
Thank you, Arlene.
Please keep me posted on your continued recovery, your continued strength.
Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it. And I'll support you however I can, as always.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.